Welcome to the March 20th Keizer Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee meeting. Again, I'll just remind everyone, let's keep to the topic and try and make our comments short and sweet, and that'll help the meeting flow. So, moving on, approval of the minutes from February 25. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes.
Second.
February 25 be approved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will wait for Dawn, yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Commenting? All right, thank you. So Dawn, we had the motion from Hirsch and Matt seconded. Do we have any people who have any questions or want any revisions to it before we vote? Okay, we're good?
No, I thought they were very well done.
Oh, okay. All right, well, all in favor of approving the motion, the minutes, the motion to approve the minutes from February 2025, say aye. Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Seeing none, it passes. Okay, next on the schedule is the appearance of interested citizens. This is a time to talk about a topic that is not on the agenda. We have a name on here, Tammy. The item is on the agenda, so I don't know if you would want to wait or if you have a time commitment you have to get out of here.
No, I can wait. I only put it down because I didn't know if you're filing specific to that application.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, that probably is specific to the application, but seeing as we were waiting for a revised application, if I recall correctly, I think it'd be appropriate we can talk about.
Right, revised one coming from West Keizer.
Oh, that's correct, yeah.
I gave it to Tammy.
Oh,
That was a different one. There's two applications for
okay,
Okay. So the one from Brenda, the West Kaiser, and then the one on the agenda is from.
greater, yeah. And, all right, well, might as well have you just come up and talk, that way we can talk about that and then just keep it contained. So if you want to, yeah, talk specifically about the overall program. Okay, and please state your name and city of residence.
Tammy Saldivar, Keizer. Yes, I'm here just to give kind of an update on the program. Am I not close enough? Oh, I'm terrible at that. Okay, just want to speak on the program itself, because I've been working with city staff on just a few tweaks and details that I wanted to share with the committee, because you will be the ones receiving the applications moving forward after the pilot is done. So do you want to talk about the application first, or do you want me to dive into my notes?
Let's dive into your notes.
Okay, so the program itself, I updated the application just with a few details, and Dawn, did we send that out? Yeah, okay, so you've seen the updated application, which just specified a few things more clearly after discussions with city, such as the roads, the streets have to have a designation of, let me see where I have it on here. It can't be arterials.
Right. So it says
Wherever I worded it
collector
on
or-
here about that. No major or minor arterials qualify for this program because it's just not safe enough to do that. So it's going to be collectors and local streets. So that's the big change in there. And I don't remember what else I updated. I don't have that in front of me. But in general, my notes, so the parameters of the pilot program itself, because that's what we're starting with. So for 6 months, we're going to try this out. And since the first application, which is for West, if approved, will start in June. So from June to December is considered our pilot. Every 3 months, we'll assess it I say we, only because I'm spearheading these notes, but it'll be you assessing it. So in September and then December, you'll take a look at the program and see if there's any concerns. And so the assessment will come from 3 different sources. We're going to look at neighborhood association input. So amongst themselves, they will provide feedback that you can ask for at the 3 months. Public feedback from folks that are literally standing there using the flag program. So the city has offered to give a QR code sticker that will go on the flag holder, and anybody can scan that and provide feedback directly to the city website, where the city can compile that information and contribute it to the assessment at the 3 and 6 month period. The city is only going to allow 2 locations for the pilot. So right now we have the application for West, and then the one that was there for Greater Northeast, which I'm not going to speak to because that's not my place. Brenda, I think you're going to speak on behalf of that.
Okay.
Yeah, or I mean, I can, it's just, I don't know if that's my place. And then for each of the pilot locations, the city has offered $300 to go towards the materials for it. So moving forward past the pilot, let's say at December, it's agreed that this is successful and the right decision for Keizer. It'll be monitored for safety, maintenance effort, and feedback is what we're going to continue to look at. So when it moves out of the pilot status in 6 months, other locations can then be requested through the process, which is the application comes to this committee who works with the city to decide if it's acceptable or not. The application will be kept online in the Public Works section of the website. And then I recommend that every year, we'll just say, this committee looks at those locations and just keeps an eye on them, like brings it up in discussion, checks in with the neighborhood association, kind of like we do the other things, and just make sure that it is still successful and safe and not forgotten about. And if we're finding it's neglected, then you can work to have those removed. That is another thing I added, now that I'm thinking about this, on the application. I added a disclaimer that says, in no way is this a guaranteed location. So even if we approve it as a city, at any point, if it's deemed unsafe, it's going to be removed by city staff at their discretion. So that's an extra layer that we've added in. Okay. So we have until June then for the city to create the QR code and the website location that it will feed into. So I don't know who's working on that. Is that you? And then, actually, oh yeah, it would have to be then. There's a second pilot location available still until the approvals happen. And I will continue to help with the pilot program. So through December, I'm still going to be keeping involved. But after that, you know, my role here is done. So I'll leave it up to the committee to do what you wish with it. Brenda's spearheading this with me, so she will be actively involved, I'm sure. And because I love my workbook spreadsheet, I recommend you add a tab to that to keep track of the locations and the monitoring of it. But again, that's up to you to decide what to do with that. That's pretty much all I had. Those were my notes. Do you want to talk about the application, or does anyone have a question for me that I didn't touch on? Hirsch.
Oh, there it is. Because the city manager at the last meeting mentioned marked crosswalk only, and I see it's right there.
Mm-hmm. That was updated. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This may not be an issue, but with the speed limit, it says 30 miles or less. Are there any, or could there be any locations that would be in non-crossing guarded crossings in school zones, speed limit zones? Do we know that? Does that make sense? So if there's a speed limit, a school zone that's got the speed limit that's 20 miles an hour during those times, that's not a collector, or not an arterial, but might have a higher speed limit?
Where?
That's what I'm asking. Is there any? I'm trying to see if there,
So you're saying if the road is marked higher than 30 but 20 during school times?
right. Do we have any crossings that could fit that category?
I have a bunch of questions on this, but to me, like, an example, it probably runs afoul of your minor arterial, but a street like Wheatland has a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. It has school crossing areas on it.
Well, this is not a program for school crossings. It's not intended for that. It's just intended for a pedestrian to cross the street.
Right, but could, like, so this is saying it can't be in a place that's got a higher,
Right.
Then 30, right?
right, but there are those areas that will have 20s during the school zone. So would that automatically, because it's in the school zone?
I would say no, because it's only 20 during those times of the day.
Right.
I would
And it's not marked at 20.
Okay.
Mike, do you agree
I
with me here,
wouldn't
Mike
pay
Griffin?
too much, I don't think we should pay actually any attention to the flashing 20-mile-an-hour speed zone limits for two reasons. One is they would get you into a habit that there's going to be it's 20 miles an hour sometimes, like not in the summer, which would cause a problem in generating habits. The other part is the school district's not real careful about when they turn those on and off. Like, they're not, I have one right by my house. They're not on when, sometimes when they should be, because they've turned them off for spring break or something. And then they leave them on for days when there's no school at all. So I just would say, let's just ignore that. I wouldn't take that into account. It's still, like Wheatland, yeah, we have a flashing 20, but the speed limit's 40.
Right. So I just wasn't sure if we should keep it, like,
Just ignore it.
specifically, like, saying something like that becomes a no-go zone.
I can add the word marked if it helps, or whatever the correct term is for the
Everything's
speed
marked.
limit on a road by law.
It
or
may
by
be-
whatever the word is.
Yeah, it might be all about, much about nothing. anyway.
Because keep in mind, if we put them, let's just say that we say yes, and while it's flashing 20, you can use one. What happens to the flags when it's not flashing? They sit there with a sign that says don't use them? That's not realistic.
Right.
We wouldn't approve it. There we go.
So this committee, are we just helping them fill the application out appropriately?
You're-
Or are we approving the application?
All you're doing is receiving the application. I suggest you look at it to make sure it's filled in correctly, since it's possible it's misinterpreted or incomplete, before it goes to city staff. And then they have 2 weeks to evaluate that area and make a decision. And then they will communicate directly with the applicant, who's provided their email address, and informs you and the applicant directly.
So we don't have to be so careful, we just have to help the applicant fill it out. And if we think it's fine, the other people that it goes to will decide whether it's a safety issue or not.
Okay.
Correct.
David?
Thank you. I don't really understand the purpose of this program, and in part, by not allowing it on streets like Chemawa, Lock Haven, Wheatland, all of which tend to not have, well, first of all, they have higher speed limits, they have higher traffic volumes. They tend to have very few, if any, crosswalks. They have corners, but drivers tend to not pay any attention to a pedestrian wanting to cross the street there. I mean, that to me is the purpose of this program, would be to have a flag or something that really draws the attention of the driver and have them slow down and stop. It is the pedestrian's responsibility to make sure that the cars see them and stop otherwise. And so I just don't understand in terms of restricting this to low volume, low speed, neighborhood streets where there's really not as much of a conflict between pedestrians and cars. the places where we really need help in this community, either, and we've done nothing in terms of, ideally it would be flashing lights with crosswalks and things would be on some of these busier streets that have high traffic volumes, have no crosswalks, and have no enforcement of the, responsibility of drivers to stop if a pedestrian is indicating they want to cross the street. So anyway, I'm really curious as to why the restrictions. I mean, if this was, to me, a pilot program to see is this going to help, the places you would really want it are on those streets like Chemawa, Lock Haven, Wheatland, all of which have speed limits which are above your 30 mile an hour. Well, Chemawa is kind of 30, but at or above the 30 mile an hour. So
It's for safety. We don't want to, do you want to speak, Mr. Griffin, to this, or do you want me to?
Well, no, you're fine. I mean, that's the reason. I understand what you're saying, but the arterials in the streets with the higher speed limits, putting somebody out there with a flag and then having cars to grab their attention without like a rectangular flashing beacon or a push button, without that and just having to go across in hopes that the car does see them, we don't feel as safe. So putting those people at risk at the higher speed limits is not something that we want to do. And it's designated as it's put out as a trial to see if people use it or if they don't. And if they don't, then it will go by the wayside. But to put them on the higher speed limits, no.
I think it's the responsibility of the pedestrian to see the car stops. It's not that you're going to wave the flag and be out there in the middle. I mean, and the whole purpose of the flag is not to stop cars. It's to increase the visibility of the pedestrian so that the cars do stop. But, anyway, I just disagree with that premise.
And this was brought from this committee, so it wasn't brought from the outside, if you didn't realize that or not.
I don't know if you wanted to respond anymore, otherwise, David.
If we feel that there is a need at a higher speed road, that is handled through a different mechanism to address for safety purposes. We are just picking the locations because of the low volume where the flag is all that is really needed to draw attention if somebody feels unsafe.
Part of it is, even if and I wasn't 100% behind it, but I can go along with it for a while. If it doesn't turn out to solve the problem, then we can always cancel. Mm-hmm. And all the other issues about the ones that are 35 and 40 here in town, has a different route to deal with.
Correct.
So
and as we already heard from
and we've
Greater
already gone through
Northeast.
the whole process, so I just let it go.
Thank you. And as we heard from Greater Northeast, Tammy Kunz tried it on those higher speed roads and came back saying that it was too scary to do that. Mm-hmm. So that goes to why we're choosing the roads we are.
I appreciate doing the experiment, and the one of the things that I learned from ODOT's feedback was the key for educating the community about how to use it and stuff. Mm-hmm. And just putting it out on River Road, Lock Haven, any of the higher speed, as this committee had talked about years ago. Danger, danger, Will Robinson, as they would say. So what I see with you is seeing what it works at a lower bell volume, maybe seeing what educational components we can engage in the future if it works. I know they did that at a small, and then, and the school started telling people about it, neighborhood associations started telling, so it maybe in the future we could use it on Lock Haven. Maybe.
That's a long way.
Well, that's a long shot, but, I know what David's thinking about, but the educational component, if we just, one place that I would pick right off is the River Road, right across by McDonald's. for
Oh, if
flag.
we were gonna do River
Yeah,
Road.
Yeah, if we were gonna do I know that, but because people are going across there, there's no crosswalk, maybe the flag would work there. If we do it now, it would be, in my opinion, a disaster. But doing it this way, we may get some good learning.
Yes, I think this is the right approach to introducing the program.
Yeah,
I personally would never support a flagged across River Road because even though our
this
community might be
committee did
aware of,
recommend that at one time.
I believe you. But even though our community might be aware of the program and how to use it, the people on River Road are not all from our community and they will not know the person standing with the flag is intending to cross the road. And so that's just one of the many reasons. But yes, that is down the line and that's up to the city to determine. Right now, we're just focusing on a couple locations with a low speed limit and see what we think as Keizer.
Counselor?
Thank you, Chair de Blasi. So I'm trying to get caught up and up to speed here. So if I can get the Reader's Digest condensed version of how we got to this point, because I remember and maybe I missed, and I'm off on my months of which meetings I watched, but I remember the meeting where the representative from Greater Northeast, Keizer, came forward and was reporting on the work that they had already been doing on this project, which wasn't an official pilot at that point, correct? And staff and some on this committee seemed surprised. So can you fill in the gap from that meeting to last month's meeting where it seemingly was a done deal that this pilot project had been signed off on, and bring me up to speed on how this pilot project got approved and by who? Because I don't think it's been presented or announced at City Council in any of the reports from the traffic safety, when the committees come and do their regular reports to council. I don't think it's been announced to council yet, so that's, I think, one thing that is maybe missing. And then if I can just, who approved doing the pilot project, and what conversations have happened to put this document together? I'm just looking to fill in the pieces because,
I'm happy to answer you.
thank you.
Brenda and I had brainstormed this idea about a year ago, put together an idea, and we sat down with Adam Brown and discussed it with him. He was in very much support of it, having come from Ontario, and where he saw it to be successful. So he very much was in agreement on us giving this a try. So from there, we worked with Public Works to determine what you see here as the final details over the course of time. So we did introduce this a couple months back, and I went to Tammy Coons saying, I know you've had some areas that you have concerns with crossing the road, so would you like to be a pilot for this? But there was some miscommunication, and the roads that she tried it at were either unsuccessful or not approved. And so we kind of went back to square one and we dialed in the details a little more clearly, and here we are.
Okay, because at the time, if I remember what I saw on that meeting, I think law enforcement was uncomfortable with where it had happened. And
Correct.
so first of all, has that communication improved between the pilot project planning and our Keizer Police Department on them being okay with the location?
We haven't approved a location yet. So the one that was,
Have they been involved in the planning of the project at all? Or has it just been Public Works? and
I've been working
Adam?
with Public Works and Adam, and being here in attendance, I know it's not you. That was opportunity for input as well,
What does that mean, opportunity for input?
as we're discussing it like we are now.
With the police
Yes.
department? So
Officer
they were
Powell's
at the
sitting here having
meetings?
this conversation with us, yes.
Okay,
Was he involved in the email details? No. But Adam is fully aware of what's going on, and if he felt
Oh.
that they needed to be involved, he will involve them.
Okay.
And it's been in our minutes every,
Well, right, but not probably to the degree of filling in the gaps of what I'm trying to understand the process and who the conversations have occurred with. So I'm sorry, Mr. Dempster, I'm just trying to get up to speed as fast as I can. And sometimes the minutes don't always have context for conversations that didn't happen here in this meeting, meaning the conversations with Mr. Brown, the conversations with Public Works, the conversations with law enforcement. The context of those conversations aren't always captured in the meeting minutes of this committee conversation. And so I'm just trying to make sure that from what I heard or what I watched in that meeting and some of the surprise, that some of those pieces have been addressed. Okay.
One other question I had was, you mentioned if it's deemed to not be safe. Do we have a threshold over which it's not safe? I mean, obviously, if someone got hit or near misses, that's not safe, but is there anything else beyond that to say?
There's no, like, parameters to that I can think of and that I've worked out details on. So I'm trusting city staff to know when that is the right decision to make.
Okay. I would hope that city staff, we have a conversation with this committee too. Right, well, so if city staff, we're doing the reviews of the data, whether it be 3, 6 months or beyond, and something's determined not safe by staff, that we talk about it here too, before city staff just says, we don't think it's safe, so we shut it
so,
down.
one of the points, the reason you guys are here is that if they have an issue, they have they'll bring it up. They always have in the past. I'm assuming that if somebody complained to the police department, we'd find out about it. So, I mean, so the mechanisms are all there for that communication. We don't need to add layers and layers of bureaucracy to
Right, yeah.
the way it works.
Yeah, I'm just saying that as long as that's part of the process and, normal operating process.
Well, if you thought it was dangerous, you'd bring it up. I know.
Yeah, I would,
The
yeah.
way I'm perceiving this and have envisioned it in my brain is the discussions here will happen, and then amongst the team, I'll call it, decides if it's to stay or not. But in the short term, in between the meeting times, if something happens that city staff determine this can't stay, they have every right to just remove it from that place. And whatever that process looks like, we haven't dialed in the details, but I'd imagine you just remove the stuff and let the neighborhood association know.
Yeah, and for you, Chair, positive feedback, negative feedback, all of that will be brought back to here, unless, like you said, if it's something just crazy happens and it's just like, hey, we're going out there right now and pulling that or whatnot. But aside from that, like I said, any positive, negative, I want to bring back here and say, hey, we got kudos for this, it's working great, or you know what, everyone's, taking the flags and running down the street or whatever, and then that would be a reason like, hey, what do we want to do from this point, so.
Okay, that's good. All right, well, I don't have any other questions. Does anyone else on the committee?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Did you want to,
So you want us to talk specifically about the West Keizer?
I don't need to. This was their submission, and I will give it to you. It was just handed to me, but this is the,
So these are
this
the
is the process that we're gonna follow, is it comes to you.
these two we
I,
did.
at the moment, am representing West,
Okay,
just,
That wasn't.
so we need to.
and you will look it over, and then if it's filled in correctly, you can then give it to staff.
Okay, do we need to approve Mike, do we need to approve these revisions?
To the
Okay,
application?
right,
because we
do we,
didn't approve the application in the
Right.
first place.
okay, all right, that's fine.
Right, consider the document owned by Public Works, since it's gonna be on their website. So revisions can be made without needing a motion.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just in this case, we hadn't nothing was already approved, so this would be basically
That's good.
the new application as if there was never an original one.
Okay.
Oh, David, yes.
On the general form, the one concern I had was in the instructions to include at the flag holder. To me, it's important that the pedestrian wait for the cars to stop. Again, the flag is simply just something saying, I want to cross the street. And so under number 2, I would change the language to read, give traffic plenty of time to see you and stops before crossing.
I think I did add that update, so I don't think this is this the most recent one I sent out, like, last
320?
week?
It says 325 on it, 32025. I mean,
Then, okay.
we're almost at the end of March, so
It
you
does
may have
say
had
wait
another
for
one.
them to pause. I think he just wants to wait for them to stop. He just,
Give
I
traffic,
can add whatever we feel
give
is
traffic plenty of
important.
time to see you and stops before crossing.
I can add that in and send it out again, that's not a
Yeah, I
problem.
mean, semantic, fine,
And then delete, wait for them to pause.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Counselor Stark?
Thank you, Chair de Blasi. So you mentioned the QR code. Where are there directions on here? I mean, where is that gonna,
do you mind, can you rephrase that?
well, I'm thinking, is that how how we're gonna track how many times it was used? Or maybe I missed what the QR code,
Can I answer that, Tammy?
Yes.
The QR code's just feedback. So it's just gonna be like community comment. So if they choose to comment on like the flag, don't like the flag.
okay,
So it gives them a place to state their perspective. It's not gonna track when they cross.
okay. And is there gonna be information about that at the flag holder on either side of the street? Can we add, I don't know if maybe add a number 5 or something there?
I can do that, yeah.
And then what's the communication plan for communicating this out to the community and inviting applications from the different neighborhood associations?
Well, that won't come until the pilot is over?
So so this application then that's in here from Greater Northeast, and this application from West Keizer was determined how versus maybe a location from Southeast Keizer or West Keizer or Gubser neighborhood?
We've just verbally been reaching out. We were not trying to spread the word too much because we were just still getting the program running, up and
Okay.
running. With just a few locations that they were just random ones that we picked that we knew could work.
Okay. But what's the communication plan going to be to let the community know that this is a pilot project? Are we,
We haven't discussed that yet, so.
Yeah, that's a great question. No one's mentioned that.
Well, wouldn't it be the same as anything else that happens in Keizer? It'll be presented to the city council, and that's the communication route. If people are interested in what's going on in Keizer, you could look at the newspaper, you could watch the TV, or you can pay attention to what the city council does. So when it's presented to the city council, if and when, that's where the community finds out about it.
And through the neighborhood associations, because we're all meeting here next month.
Yeah.
It just seems like the communication, since for it to, the pilot, the communication should be through the neighborhood association at this point, because we're not going to the council right now, right? We're not,
We've already,
Well, we're not going through council for approval.
Right,
We're
and
just
so
going
we're-
to at the next, as Counselor Starr pointed out,
Right. I
at
mean,
the
we
next
could-
report.
right, we could tell council, how things are going, but that's already kind of, the horse is out of the stable already by then for communication. So I think the neighborhood associations should be the ones, and maybe something on the website, one of those crawlers that mention it or something. I don't know.
I I would like to encourage us to think about what that communication is going to look like, because just relying on people watching a city council meeting, I'm not sure is the best way to capture as many people as possible from the community that might be traveling into these neighborhoods. And I just think notifying people or trying to get the word out that this is out there, be watching, is probably a good idea, but.
We will come up with a plan.
Any other questions or comments? Did you want to wait for the application? Okay. Do we want to wait for the review of it till the?
So last month when, Wes Keizer turned that in, we wanted it exactly where this says at the end of the sidewalk where the crosswalk is at the park, but the application said crossroads, so Rob and I got confused because we wrote the nearest crossroad, but that's not where we wanted the flags. So this is the exact same location that, committee members thought would be a good spot. It's just correctly mentioned that it's not exactly at those crossroads.
Yeah, okay.
I don't foresee many locations being mid-block
Yeah.
where this is even going to be a concern, but if we find that there are more and we want to reword that, that's not a problem. But most places that have a crosswalk is an intersection, in which case the wording fits.
Okay. So at this point, do we just say it looks good and hand it off to?
That's what I
Mike?
envision. Yeah.
I just wanted clarification in my mind, because I think our neighborhood association has some impact on this West Keizer one. Am I correct?
We do have half the
Okay.
road.
So I want to make sure that it's the crosswalk on Chemawa, up from 15th, but right in front of the fields.
It's where the sidewalk ends on the west side of Chemawa and the road crosses at the crosswalk. So I don't know how it's described from what you
I
just
think
said there.
the fields are right across from it.
It's technically the parking lot for the new fields.
Right, that's,
So it's short of the entry road to the park.
right, but it's right by the fields, okay.
I have a question. So someone gets this form from the website, right?
Yes. Well, after the pilot, yes. Right now, we're not
pilot.
advertising it as something anybody can just grab and use because we're not there yet.
So should the pilot work, it would be nice if there'd be a way for someone to click on a map that would print out a zoomed in area of where they want to do it.
That's up to the city as they
Yeah.
design the website. I can't speak
Right.
to that.
Right. But I just think for, that way they're clear where they're telling us they want it and we're clear where they're telling us. But that is one, that's a couple steps ahead for right now. So do we get to approve this the same night we receive this?
No, you give it to the city and they have 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the
You don't
procedure,
want to put you on
but
the spot.
I make a motion that we give this application to Public Works for their review and approval.
Is that how it works? Is that what we do with all applications? Like with if the one that you, the large one that you redid?
The traffic
Yeah,
management
do
plan.
we actually vote to approve them, or do we just go, it looks good and hand it over, and they figure it out?
Are you talking about the NTMP?
No, I'm not arguing with you,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just confused.
That's what she said, NTMP.
I don't recall us voting at all for that. You just receive, because this committee doesn't make those decisions at all. They just receive the information.
Well, it's probably no different than some of the things that we come up with recommendations to city council. City council makes the decision. In this case, really, Public Works makes the decision.
Could it be just a recommendation rather than an official motion? We say, do we have unanimous approval to recommend, or to pass this along to?
What would be the
Public Works?
reason for doing that?
I mean, I guess my point was, if we're not doing anything other than we get it from Mr. and Miss Public, and then say, yeah, looks good, here you go, then that seems like an unnecessary bureaucratic step.
If I may.
Go ahead.
So we've already had someone try to put it in a place that didn't work, so that's all we do is verify the speed limit and that the application filled out and that we have contact information. So we're just helping them fill it out.
And filtering so that Public Works don't randomly get these that are incomplete or misunderstood. So because this committee understands what it should be, it'll help filter through and communicate the correct way to fill it out, as Brenda points out. That's the intent. Just like with the NTMP, you're not making decisions, you're just helping them through the process.
Right. I guess, like with an NTMP, I feel like it's just a more complicated process.
It is.
So,
But this
That's-
one, we'll see where it goes. And if this is a bad idea, it's a bad idea.
well, and I'm not saying the program's a bad idea, I'm just trying to figure out a way to have the fewest hands it's gotta go through to, and I totally get someone coming to us saying, hey, we would like to do this here, what do we gotta do to get that process started, and we explain the process, and then they can do it.
So you are recommending to remove this committee from the receiving of the application and it just go directly to Public Works is what you're asking? Because there's no other step that I see here that we can do.
Well, I guess I saw public works opinion, that was not how they'd like it, but I'm just trying to think of a way, like I said, to make sure we are providing a service to the public without being a redundant service.
But we're not redundancing anything with it. You're just receiving the paper from what I'm intending here.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to pass this on?
I mean, I'm ready to pass it on.
I appreciate it, but we don't seem to have made any
I'm fine with passing it on, I just,
process.
And also part of the pilot is to see if this will work. And
Yeah.
so over the next 6 months,
Looks like we're pretty
you
much
can see,
set.
and if you have other ideas, we have until December before we actually roll it out on the website. We can tweak it
Yeah.
and do whatever we want.
No, you're right. I mean, so let's just do it the way it's set up presently.
Yeah.
And then if we start getting a rolling number of applications and we decide it's more efficient to do what you've suggested, this makes sense. So this could be fluid.
yeah,
So if we're like, well, they're all coming in, they're all appropriate.
right.
So, but right now, so far what we've seen is people come in, they just decide they want to flag at this intersection. It hasn't happened yet, but just hypothetically. And we have to explain to them why that's not a good intersection.
Yeah.
And that's where
We can do
that's
that.
what we're for.
And we can do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Next
that,
issue.
right. Okay, so we will forward this application on to our public works staff to go to the next step that they would do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
All right,
Next.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right, moving on. Unless there's any other interested citizens who would like to speak tonight? I'm guessing that's a no? Okay, the number 4, project spreadsheet review. Let's see, do we have this in here?
Are we gonna add the pedestrian pilot on, in a, like Tammy was suggesting adding the pedestrian pilot on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that it's a appropriate thing because it's now an active project, yeah.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure it's in front of us. That being said, we're gonna have this one and maybe one other. So I don't know if we want to talk about it every month or just wait till after it starts.
You know how we do that, we just.
Yeah, just say.
We just go,
Yeah.
okay, this is monitoring, moving on.
Yeah. Now, we have the one that was on Shamawa and Lucinda on the,
5-second timing.
say that again?
Are you on the first item on the?
No, I was just pointing out that we already have a pedestrian flag pilot item on the thing, and we might want to modify that one.
I don't think it's supposed to.
Just leave it as pedestrian flag.
Right. So getting back to the top one. River Road intersections by school, so changing the timing. I imagine it shouldn't be pending anymore because that's been done, correct?
Correct, so that has been completed, and I just talked to Eric with City of Salem, and he said, hey, what about Sam Orchid Way and Cherry? I can add that one also, and I said, perfect. I emailed him back today.
Which one?
And said, Cherry and Sam Orchid Way, to add the
Okay.
3-second delay to that as well, so. And he brought it up, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's great, so
Yeah, okay.
he will add that.
Nicely done, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So should we change the project to just, instead of type of project, make that the name of the project? Because
It's working fine.
I just don't want it to be like, we're always hyper-focused on River Road intersection.
No, that's
Blah, blah,
fine.
Can we have?
This goes to done though,
Yeah,
right?
this goes to
Yeah.
done.
My one question was, it also talks here about intersections on Lock Haven by Whitaker and Chamawa by McNary.
Right.
Yeah, right now, all of them on River Road are set that way, and the one we're doing on Cherry, and those could happen down the road, but we're starting with this, so.
Okay, my only point is, it's done for River Road. It is still a question as whether it is desirable for the other streets, and if so, would be yet to do.
That would be pending, right. And that's where I was getting the name change, like have a umbrella name for it, and then under comments, we could have the different ones that are complete or pending. But if no one thinks it's necessary to do that, I won't push it.
So you're wanting to, somewhere back here, there's a pending one, so you just condense this down and then just put the other areas suggested and have it there to look at down the road, but not keep it inactive and something to discuss every time. It's just something that's just a placeholder that's sitting back here that can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay. Lock Haven and River Road, the green paint and bike crossings. We talked about this last time, and, we made the motion to have the city. Yeah, we had a proposal to have the budget, yeah, thank you.
Pending the budget.
Right, propose a budget for painting 7 intersections green to be brought back here for this committee to consider at a later date, then given to the budget committee. Hearing the last, when I made a presentation to the council, what I heard.
Were we taking it to the budget committee or was Public Works taking it? Mike?
I thought you guys were.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was taking
So when's the
Well,
first
what-
budget committee meeting?
in May. What did council say?
Well, I don't remember if it was council so much as Public Works saying about the money's not there.
Right.
So the money is, there is no money left in the budget to do it, which was my question. I marked this and said, council approved, question mark.
Yeah.
So I think excuse me, the recommendation was for this committee to put in a budget request. I don't think it was expected that Public Works was going to build it in because of what they already have in their work plan, which is why it was recommended that this committee submit a budget request. And so I do have a question mark though here by the fact that the price was received and council approved. I'm not sure, I think that's misleading.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Blasi?
Yes.
I think I can clarify why the approved, but it wasn't approved like you may think. We went to city council before December and brought it up because we had earlier proposed a very extensive change and width change and took it to council. And the answer really was because that was really gonna cost a lot.
Right.
And council rightly said, no, just no. And so, coming back to this committee, we discussed it. I had a point of view of, what about just paint? Went back to council, and Bill at that point said, yes, that is feasible. That's all he said. He didn't say it was in the budget, he just said it was feasible. And I reported back, yes, it's possible, versus no. So I think that's where we may have put in the wrong word, approval. But as we worked through, and Mike brought the actual figures for the paint and all that, it was that we had to, as indicated, we need to go into the budget cycle and testify, realizing that it's not going to probably be in this budget, next budget cycle, but to get the idea that it's needed. So as the future,
You have the numbers, all right. Mike has the numbers, you have the numbers.
Mike has,
Who has the, Mike does?
Mike has.
So
the-
if you could give that to one of us. So we need to write up a memo,
Well, I think,
send it in from, approve, make a little memo, approve it here at the meeting, send it to the budget committee.
There's an actual budget request form
Okay,
that will be released if it hasn't already. Typically, it's due around the last Friday-ish of April, so that Tim has time to roll it in and put together the budget packet.
we get those through from Tim? Mm-hmm. Okay. There we go.
being on the neighborhood association, I already have some at the house already from
Okay.
Tim.
Yeah.
So I'll talk with Mike, get the figures, write something up, bring it back to this committee, and we can approve it, because everything has to be in April 30th. It's what I,
Is that what
yeah, it's.
I'm not sure what the date he
Yeah,
put on it. I knew it was around the end of
yeah.
April, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could do that the next meeting.
Because the meetings start around
I'm looking right
May
now.
9th.
It is, should be the 14th
Okay,
and 15th and maybe 17th.
but from my understanding and discussions with the parties, it ain't gonna happen this year, but
Let's get started on it.
it's get started.
Right.
I have just one issue. It doesn't happen very often. Every once in a while, a bunch of us get sick and we don't have a quorum, so we cancel the meeting.
Yeah.
If we cancel this meeting, we don't have a chance to approve the memo to the budget committee.
So you're making a motion that no one gets sick?
I'm not really sure. I kind of wanted to, I mean, the only thing we're really approving is the numbers, and we already have the numbers.
Oh, so we could approve it now, is that what you're saying?
Well, I thought if we could approve it now tentatively, I don't know. You got an idea, because I just want to say if nobody shows up, we just got, because of the deadline.
Council.
Can I make a suggestion that you authorize someone on the committee to fill out the budget request utilizing the numbers from that Bill Lawyer has in the budget?
Oh, very nice.
Or that Bill Lawyer has to include in the budget request, but I would just authorize them to do that.
Yeah.
And then make sure that that budget request is included in your next meeting
Okay, I make a
packet.
motion that we authorize Hirsch to fill out the budget request form and submit it to,
That's right.
It's
The
okay,
city.
I started this, so.
I make that, well, anyway, I'll make it as a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to have Hirsch do the budget
With the
request.
given data
with-
from Mike.
right,
Yeah.
With given estimate from Public Works.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, so all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Seeing none, it passes. It comes around, goes around.
You're lucky you're even here and we do it right in front of you.
All right, moving on. Harmony Drive speed study, we talked about that a little bit last time.
May I mention that the speeding on Verda and the speeding on Harmony Drive, we passed last week, having all the 25 mile, I forgot exactly how it worked, but basically all the 25 mile an hour speed limits reduced to 20 in the neighborhoods.
Yes.
And we were asking for that study to be done,
Right.
Yes.
and we passed that and we sent it on to city council. Right?
I didn't,
It has not come before council yet. If I recall, you made the recommendation for staff to bring it forward to city council. So that's gonna take some time, I think, for staff to do whatever research and background work that they need to do and participate in creating the staff report and all the corresponding documentation that will be included in that when they bring it forward to council, so.
Mike, is that what you think?
Yeah, well, for some reason, I thought Mike spoke on it. Talking to Bill, did you speak at the last council meeting
I
and do
did,
an
but I don't
update? And
remember
he said
if I
it was talked
mentioned
about
that.
then, so I go, oh.
I can't remember if I mentioned it, to be honest with you.
Well, you probably did. It was the most
It's
important thing we did last week.
It was certainly covered in the Keizer Times as if it was
Not
brought up.
correctly, but covered.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it was in terms of their report of the council meeting, so it was certainly brought up
But I think
before
we
the council.
directed staff to bring it back.
Okay.
So the subject, like the report from staff and the recommendation and all of that has not come before city council yet.
So it's pending on
It's gonna
Mike's
take some time for them to put it all together.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with it being in the middle of budget season and launching into all of the projects through this, getting ready to ramp up for the summertime projects and so forth, so.
So regarding our document here, I would recommend that we combine the Harmony and the Verda and any other speed studies we were doing. The speed study, just one item for speed study and say it's pending
Okay.
on, and we've sent it,
But what's pending? Oh, just to
Just
check
the
back
whole
later
issue is
pending? Okay,
pending.
because the studies are done, that's what I meant by,
Yeah, so I think, so.
the speed
The
study.
speed study's done, the speed reduction analysis,
Was the result of the speed studies.
well,
We had the speed studies, we went over them. And then we
right,
made a decision.
but I think now we're talking about having to go through the consultants to
Right.
get the paperwork to ODOT to prove.
That's the pending
Right.
process.
Right.
I just thought we could combine them into one speed study issue since.
I'd probably keep them separate because they are different steps.
I think Dave's point, though, which is good, is it's no longer a speed study. It's basically a recommendation for reducing speed
Speed,
limits,
yeah.
and that is pending. And the next step is the report from Public Works to the council, whenever that happens.
So you're suggesting that we change it from speed study to the report? That's
I
pending.
think the topic, I think it should, I don't know. Seems to me the title should just be reduce speed limit in city limits.
Local street, speed
Well,
reduction.
just-
Residential.
Just leave it kind of, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is staff has got to do this report, so this too will not be a 2025 budget item.
We'll see.
You mean
Because the budget, we would have to pay the consultant to do this, the process to get eventually the speed reductions, which means money.
Mike, they won't know,
yeah, and the cost for replacing all the 25-mile-an-hour speed signs to 20. So yeah, there's quite a cost involved in this, which is why it's going to take some time to put something
Yeah.
together to
Right.
get back to
Yeah.
council.
but we've made a step forward, so.
Right, we made a step forward, but I'm just saying,
And if you,
it's,
if everybody here, at least in my opinion, it wasn't something that we were so much optimistic in happening recently, soon, but it's something that needs to be considered, and maybe it'll be broken down to just some areas as opposed to all areas, which we recommended. So there's all sorts of things could happen once the ball is rolling.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Salem does it when they
Well,
do
I'm
the
not-
speed reduction to 20 miles an hour. Did they do a big chunk of an area or did they were they super focused
I'm not sure. And are you saying they did all residential in Salem to 20? Because I don't know
No,
that.
They didn't do all residential, no, I know like down by the capital area, the grant.
They
for
did
sure.
some, anyway, we
Yeah.
don't know. So if anybody's interested, they could,
They did the greenways, what they,
Right.
it was the Maple Street to some other street.
Yeah. Okay, well, so we don't have to do anything right now. We're just waiting on staff to do their report.
okay.
Okay. So back to
Quaggett Creek.
the pedestrian flag pilot. I would like to switch that to take the Chamala Lucinda out and just name it pedestrian flag pilot.
Sure.
And then we can, under comments, we have the West Keizer application that we're forwarding to Public Works
Yeah,
and waiting, or don't even talk about any other thing right now, I guess, because we don't have anything in hand.
Perfect.
All right. And that looks like it for active projects on my, oh, I'm sorry. Well, the Verta was, we were talking about,
they're all the same.
yeah,
One
this, we were
thing.
talking about the speeding. Oh, do you want to?
Yeah, so
Okay.
two things. First of all, draw your attention to page 7. I don't want, I guess we can't correct the notes now, but it's, in the first paragraph, it's not 8,000 cars per day, it's 8,000 cars per week. It's actually closer to 8,400 cars per week, which breaks down to 1,200 cars a day. And again, it didn't meet the criteria. So there's two criteria. One is speed, the other one is cars per day. It met the cars per day for the NTMP. However, 85% of them were doing 31 or below, and that the other 15 were doing 32 and above. So let me just point this out to you. That means 279 cars during the day are doing over 32 miles an hour. Okay? That's 22 cars an hour.
Why did you use the 85th percentile?
The
I'm just asking.
85% of them are doing under of the 1,200 cars per day. So
85% are doing under whatever.
31 and below.
Okay, I got mistaken because we go with the 50th percentile, so when you said 85, I was just getting that straight.
According to the NTMP, on the
Yeah.
figuring, it's 85-15.
So it's a lot of people.
Yeah, so I didn't write
Using the
it.
50th percentile.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, we still have a lot of traffic that's going well over. And while we didn't meet both criteria to take it to the next level, which is really Public Works, there's still an issue here. And this is the second speed study. There's been 2 done on Verta Lane now. Officer Powell was helpful and did one just before our last meeting. And so we've done 2 now, and I'd like to keep this on there. And I don't have a recommendation, but I wanted to bring up those facts to all of you to see what you thought, and include you, Mike. I don't, you know,
Yeah, I know Officer Powell mentioned more, spending more time on Verta when he can, but then he said, hey, I'm only one person. So that's not an answer, but that is, he knows about it, it's in his forefront, and that's, that's something that he will continue to do in other areas around town. We bring up that hit one of the 2 markers, but we do know it's an issue, and we do know there's some speeders, but, he can't be everywhere at once, so.
So just for you to know what I'm thinking, I think speeding is an issue, right, everywhere. So that should be on the active list. So when we have speeding, that we're constantly doing studies or reviewing and having Officer Powell or whomever going out there, so that could be on here. Specific things that have already had a speed study, that could probably go to completed, because we've got the study, we don't need,
right.
once we've gone one meeting past that discussion, we don't need to keep talking about it, other than hopefully addressing it eventually. So, if that's okay with everybody to just, again, have a blanket top project name as speeding.
I'm not paying as much attention as I should. Okay, we have a problem with speeding. The police department is the enforcement piece of that. They could be communicating to the people in the neighborhood. If I just suppose I went down to Verda and found that 9 out of 10 people in that stretch from Lock Haven to the traffic circle agree that they want some impediments to speeding, and they decided they want to put some trees in the middle of the road, Mike. So I just went through an area up in Portland. I had to slow down to about, 10 or 15, because they dug up the asphalt. They put in one of those wonderful welcome to Keizer mounds with a tree in the middle of it, every intersection.
How big are these trees?
I'll tell you, if you can go more than 20 in that neighborhood, now, wonder if everybody in Verda decided that was a good idea. Can they go out, what do they need to tear up that road and put in a tree in the middle of the road? Mike?
They can't.
Right.
Oh, why not? I mean, if they're willing to pay for it, why not? I mean,
I'm not asking for that,
No,
Mike.
I know.
Okay, let's
It's an example.
all right, yeah,
Okay.
but I think the point I'm trying to make is we're trying to follow the NTMP, right? We met one criteria, didn't meet the other one. There's definitely a problem at 22 cars an hour that are doing over 32 miles an hour, 32 and above, I should say, okay? So what's our next step? I mean, we're kind of in that gray area because, as Mike said, and Officer Powell said, there's only one of me, I'll do my best.
What I'm wondering, Matt, and the tree thing was just an example, is that if the speed thing, and it's not just there, but other places, if the people in that area want to do something, what's the process? Is that, maybe they want to put in street art or bump out on the curbs, and they're willing to, one would be, could they form one of those neighborhood thingamajiggies where you raise money or tax yourselves? So that they could, I don't know, let's talk about I don't care if it's trees in the middle, something to slow, one of the slowing impediments to people speeding. Because the police can only do so much, and nobody's gonna let us hire 5 more traffic people next.
Well, I would say.
So what's the process?
I would say, with my idea with Lock Haven by River Road needs an engineering study, and that's just moving a paint line. I imagine the process for
Well, I was
anything you're
asking-
talking about is gonna need an engineering study before they even consider it.
But for your suggestion for street art, I know right now the Arts Commission is working with, and also Tammy Saldivar that was just here, to get something going for street murals, which is with volunteers. And I don't know how all that's gonna be put together, but that's something that's just brought up here
I've seen
recently.
some towns where are they bump outs? Is that what you call it, the intersections?
It's a bulb out.
Bulb out? So that it becomes very narrow at that intersection, which forces people to slow down. I mean, I'm not sure that any of these work or worth it, but it's saying, okay, we talked about speeding and we only got a limited number of police officers who can go sit in that neighborhood. We have this problem coming up all over the town. The bulk of the people don't like the speed people are driving in the neighborhoods.
Right.
We haven't had a lot of complaints about except from us, but not the 35 mile an hour on River Road or Lock Haven or the 30 on Chemawa. So we're talking about the neighborhoods, those streets. Talking speed studies, we know they're driving too fast. We need to come up with some pretty firm suggestions to Matt. Here's something you could do, here's 3 things you could do. What do you think your neighbors are willing to put up with? I mean, we need to be a little more proactive than just saying, yeah, we need to slow these people down. Because we can't put a policeman in every time we get a complaint.
Right.
Somehow I think we need to move this to conclusion. This is the same issue that we came up with
Yeah.
against last month. And the problem is the posted speed limit versus the enforcement trigger, and the enforcement trigger is significantly above the speed limit, and drivers take advantage of that. And so the perception in the neighborhoods is that people are traveling too fast for comfort and safety in the neighborhoods. And that led us for the recommendation to drop the speed limit 5 miles an hour, which would then put the enforcement closer to the desired speed limit. And so anyway, but tonight we're somehow need to close it and move on.
Yeah, I do agree that, speeding, we know speeding's an issue, we know there's lots of places to fix it, and we gotta eat this elephant one bite at a time, so. All right, moving on to Claggett Creek Middle School parking issue, continued discussion. So, did we have someone here to talk about that?
My name is Rachel Navarro. I live off of Alder, a few houses down from Claggett. So your guys' recommendation was to go to Claggett. We have gone multiple times to Claggett, have asked for an appointment to see the vice principal or the principal, just for them to say they will get back to you. We have gotten no call back. We have called them to see, hey, can we please get an appointment? Still have not gone, no call back. I mean, we've gone twice in every week. We don't even know what to do anymore. Because, I mean, like, we're physically going, we're calling. I mean, we give them our flyer, we tell them, hey, we're calling in regards to this, we just want to have a chat. Nothing, they just keep on saying, we're busy with students, we're just like, just 15 minutes, after school, before school, just whenever, just call us. Nothing. I mean, we don't even know what to do. I mean, lately what we've been doing is we've been getting hold of Ben Crosby from the city and with one of the officers and just having cars being towed because now they're parking in the park and it's just been nuts. Parking in the park, and so they've just been ticketing and towing cars. And it's sad that now we're just literally bugging the police department, calling non-emergency, and they're just coming, ticketing cars and towing.
Councilor Starr?
Thank you, Chair de Blasey, and thank you so much for being here to update us on your efforts, and thank you for staying on top of it. I don't want to speak for staff and commit staff or anyone to this, but I'm wondering, I am willing to have a follow-up conversation with the city manager about, maybe what resources we have from staff that can go to the elementary school or go to the school to talk to them and have a conversation. And sometimes maybe if we have a uniformed officer or maybe our code enforcement go and try to have a conversation with them, or one of our public works, that has their city of Keizer shirts or sweatshirts and so forth on that might be helpful to support you in your efforts of trying to get a conversation and dialogue started. So I'm happy to follow up on that.
The elementary school is awesome. They're like on board with it. They're just like, we'll put it in our newsletter. It's the middle school.
It's the middle school?
It's the middle
Okay.
school, and it's not so much during elementary school hours, it's during middle school hours.
So I'm happy to follow up on that.
It's the 4 o'clock. It's not 2:20. It's 4 o'clock that rolls around. It's just middle school time that
so
this is happening.
I've got it noted, middle school, we'll follow
There's
up on it.
also a director, the principal and those have a director. And my experience in dealing with the school district is very often, if you ask that meeting, you don't even have to complain about what's happened in the past. That a lot more gets done very quickly when they find that their boss knows that they're being asked to do something.
Thank you, Mr. Dempster.
I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah, and like Ben's been awesome. He's just like, we're just gonna come and just start ticketing and like, we've been calling non-emergency and like they've been out and they're just like, why are they parking in the park? And I'm just like, I don't know, this is what they do.
So you haven't seen any reduction or any
Oh,
significant reduction with
no.
all the ticketing either? huh?
No, it's the same.
Wow.
It's the same. And it's
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can I just follow up? I'm sorry, your name again?
Rachel
Rachel? And
Navarro.
no, and Dawn Dawn has your contact information?
From last month.
Yeah.
Last month. I was here last month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have your contact information. I'm just looking to make sure that if somebody says, how do I contact you, that we have it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You were part of the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association.
Yep.
Yeah.
From last month, yeah.
Yeah, so the neighborhood association has already been involved.
Yeah.
And you're part of it, so it's not just a parent or people, the neighborhood has been complaining too. So that's, thank you, counselor.
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, I hope this breaks the log jam and gets us moving.
Thank you
for
for
coming again.
Thank you.
Hey, I gotta make one comment.
Okay.
You have some great kids out there who sit through a meeting like this.
Okay, well, so we'll move on to committee member input. Start with you, David.
The only thing I had was, I wanted to ask Mike if he ever got the cost figure for putting in the blinking crosswalk signals for pedestrians. You were
On Lock
gonna.
Haven? On Lock Haven?
No, just the general cost, like we put one or two in around town, and you were gonna, this was a couple meetings ago, look into what the cost was.
They're, for either side of the road, so two of them, not one in the middle, I'll just use that for an example, about $13,000.
For
And
the
that's
two.
for the hardware, so two, correct. And then what involves with that is the ADA ramps and other things are involved that increases that cost, so.
Okay,
Like
thank you.
for the Lock Haven one that we did, the Lock Haven North by McNary, like you said, the hardware, the flashing beacons and all that was about 13 grand. And then everything else with the AD ramps involved just really increased that cost, so.
Brenda? Matt, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to thank Dawn for doing the minutes, and sorry I didn't catch that earlier, so.
Well, I missed it too, so. David?
Nope, not much.
Hirsch?
Couple things. I'm gonna give a plug out for David down the way. I and David and Mary Ann worked traffic, safe routes to school at Clear Lake. First time it's ever been at a Keizer school. I think it was pretty successful. So, on Marion County Parks, they did receive a mini grant from ODOT and are installing bike racks at several of the parks. And we have a little money left over, and the committee is determining where to put a bicycle repair station. And right now, the suggestion is putting it at Rogers Park in Silverton. And it's got a BMX track there and real close to the Oregon Gardens and everything. So that's all pending, but it's another thing. April 26th is Earth Day. And Marion County Environmental and Parks will be putting on an event at Spawn's Landing from 1 to 4. There'll be all sorts of activities. I got my arm twisted. I'll be leading a bike ride from Keizer Rapids Park to to Spawn's Landing and back on the 26th.
That's a Saturday.
Yes, it's a Saturday. There'll be food items and all sorts of outdoorsy kind of stuff going on. April,
26th.
yeah. So that's it for me.
Okay, I don't have anything, so we'll move on to staff report.
Thank you, Chair DeBossy. Just a couple things. The River Road manhole repairs have been completed, so now when you drive down River Road, things should be a little bit smoother. So, and we'll keep an eye on some of those other ones if they have any issues. So, and the second one is we're going to be installing some curb ramps at the intersection of Tony and Menlo, and it's just part of our yearly yearly neighborhood ADA program. Right now, there's currently no ramps at that intersection. So we're going to be installing 4 of them. So that's a couple updates I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our police liaison looked like he got busy.
Yeah, he got a call out.
Yeah, so, we'll have
Officer
to have Officer Powell give us the report next time. So Counselor Starr.
Thank you, Chair DeBlasi. We did our long-term planning, reviewed our short-term and long-term goals to help inform, kind of set the stage for the budget process. And that, again, is the 12th and 13th, the Budget Committee. And we are just plugging ahead on, I think our 2 biggest issues were that we worked through, we're working through the agreement with the chamber. And also, I think we had some really healthy, successful dialogue in moving the work of the CDC committee forward. So that's been the bulk of the last couple of meetings. So, yeah, just get that budget request in.
All right. Okay.
2 of them.
So moving on, we have the member reporting to council will be Brenda. Are you able to do that on April 7th?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that means we're at the adjournment of the meeting. Thank you all for coming and, oh, wait.
I'm sorry, when David Dempster made the motion, for I need the second, Matt, thank you.
Oh, Matt, yeah. Yeah, it was Matt. All right, well, with that, good evening. Have a good evening. See you on the 17th, if not sooner.